Um, can I zoom in? No, I can change where it's at. Okay. Well, from what I could see, I don't think I need this pop filter on my microphone. Just thought I'd relax, do a podcast of sorts about, generic stuff that I may or may not find interesting. And today's topic, God, it feels so weird. VTubers. And just how many are out there. This is not a flattering angle. um, it's good for the neck though. Really good. Just tighten that up. And yeah, no. So I'm gonna be taking this one step at a time regarding the podcast as I talk to myself and hopefully have some boys and girls join in. Um, I'm not really expecting or hoping for much, but seeing a few, 100 views on my weight loss journey is pretty cracked. Not gonna lie. So I figured, I'll get a bit more involved and see how it goes. So here I am. I guess we should get started. VTubers as a whole, they let me angle this down a little. There we go. VTubers, as a whole, they've been on YouTube and Twitch, I guess, for I don't know the past 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know. I haven't really done any research on this. I'm just going off of what I've seen, and the more I see them, the more I hate seeing them. And there is enough hatred on YouTube, if you ask me. Because YouTube is all about you, but sometimes it doesn't turn out that way. For some individuals, specifically the VTubers, they it's not really about them anymore. It's about the character that they made. That for themselves, it doesn't really matter what they call the said character, but it's no matter what it is, it's not very good. I keep looking at the microphone. I need my lazy readers or something. The shirt looks really big on here. It's funny too because it's like a 3X. Now it's 2X. Oh, well now I need 2Xs. Not really need, but working on it somewhat. Yeah. Anyway, back to the VTuber thing. When I started YouTube a bit ago, only 3 months ago, I mean, it's not really a whole lot of difference. I only did it because I was content with myself. I liked who I was and who I am still. Because when you come on YouTube, you're signing up to get judged, and you should be judged. Because if you can't handle the judgment, then you're on the wrong platform. Uh, Usually people go to more censored platforms if they can't handle it, but this isn't about that. This is about just how many there are now. It's been years, like I was saying, and yeah, my eyes look really small. It's been years, and to my knowledge, the numbers have only increased I've been in a few like Discord communities, and there's usually like one or two VTubers in it. And thing about that is like he kind of spoils the whole bunch wherever they go. It's like they tolerate that. What else are they going to tolerate? Um, how where does the line get drawn? Put this a little more down. Like, where does the line get drawn? Uh, I can't tell you for sure that answer. I just know, like, the further you get away from who you are, which is what the VTubers are doing, the more you don't really feel like it's you anymore. I mean, the whole premise of YouTube in general was so if you got on it, people would see you for who you were, or who you are, rather. Now it's whomever they want you to be, or whomever they want to be, rather than like the core aspect of themselves. What's that down there? Oh, some notification. An obscure one, but a notification nonetheless. Um, and yeah, I don't know why I said he. Um, VTubers though, like they come in all shapes and sizes and don't really contribute a whole lot to the individuality thing. Because when you make a VTuber avatar, it's no different than making an avatar in a video game or some other media like a persona. And those types of characters, they're fantasy. They're not real. They don't exist, and they're never going to exist. So why try to breathe them into reality when reality doesn't or can't contain them? No, that's not the right word. When reality doesn't need them to be there. Like fantasy is fun. Everyone loves living in a fantasy world where it's full of puppies and rainbows and kittens and butterflies and all that good stuff. Um, but it's not life. It's not a way to live in that fantasy. There's so many forms of media out there, movies and video game cutscenes. It's probably more, but out of all those places, the whole message at the end of them, well, when they show up anyway, like if you take a look at Ready Player One or Avatar, I guess, then you see at the end, you're supposed to live in the world as like you were born in. And maybe Avatar isn't a good reference for that. Forget Avatar. Not Avatar though. What's that other show movie thing called? Uh, oh no, they're out there. Uh, just the whole not wanting to live in a fantasy world in general type deal. That's the core message. And that's the message that everyone universally at the end of those movies and shows agree that that's how it should be. You shouldn't have to like find yourself extending upon the world you're in because you have everything you need in the world you're in. And the message that like VTubers are sending out is like what you seek in the real world isn't there. And that's not a healthy message. It's a bad message. It's a scary message, if anything. Scary just because like people they gravitate. Let me just put that up. They gravitate towards gravitate towards what makes them happy, which is a good thing. You know, everyone deserves to be happy. Doesn't matter where you come from or how bad of a person people perceive you to be. Being happy should be like at the core of anyone's goal. And that's what people do with fulfilling jobs or career choices or just inspirational quotes in general. Uh, and that's fine, if that were the message, but it's not the message. No, the message that they're sending isn't be yourself anymore. Prosper where you're planted. It's none of that. It's if you don't have what you want in real life, try to make it just appear out of thin air, which isn't at all how it works in real life. It does ultimately depend on what's needed, at the time, what you need. Um, Most of the time, though, what you have, uh, you just get more of, and that's all you need more of. You don't need much to be happy, and people have proven that. People have proven time and time again, it's not just money or like fantasy or, popularity or any of that vacuous nonsense. It's love and community and family. That's what usually brings happiness to most people. Hell, to everyone. People say you can cry in your mansion, but you're still crying. And like that isn't a good message to send to people, because then that everyone's going to start doing it. And that's why there's so many VTubers now, because everyone wants to be that fantasy role. They want to live in a perfect world when the world isn't perfect. Perfection isn't just an idea. It needs to be like cultivated from the individual seeking it out, not just not just talked about, not just expressed. And yeah, the fantasy world is the embodiment of perfection. It will always be the embodiment of perfection. And it's because, the fantasy world doesn't exist. There's no standard. You don't need a standard. You just need to be and be, and it'll come. Well, the perfection will come. Like there's no there's no goal where we're all at now as a species to match what a VTuber is trying to do. And I hate that. I hate that there's no way to ever match a perfect being like a VTuber. However hard it is for me to say that. Yeah, what can we do? Watch VTubers. Nah, there's another answer. You lower the goalpost. I think that's what they call it. Or You decrease the goalposts range to whatever, you get it. You lower your standards. The thing is, you don't have to lower them much. If you're seeking what a VTuber has in someone, it's probably going to take a while till you find someone like that, because most people aren't like that. Most people are living in reality, and instead of basing their reality off of a VTuber's fantasy, they're struggling to make ends meet in their own life, um, depending on their goals. Thing is, they're only struggling because they know they can handle the struggle. Everyone would love to not struggle, but struggling is a part of life. There's no changing it. There's no stopping it, which is understandable, because there's tons of videos out there of people struggling for like the most basic of things, and it really puts it into perspective. Like, why aren't those people glorified? Why aren't they given the attention they need? Instead, people like VTubers get attention. But then that seems a little biased, because it's not only VTubers then. At that point, it's VTubers and celebrities and rich politicians, all them getting attention and stuff. When the glorification of that attention is what drives people to ruin, because it's all unobtainable in the end. And wealth isn't unobtainable. Popularity isn't unattainable. The only thing unattainable, though, is the belief that you can have all that on a whim. You can be perfectly suitable and capable on a whim, when it takes hard work. You can't just design a character, be that character, and win at life, which is what VTubers are doing. And it's really childish, if you ask me. It's like playing dress up. Thinking that you can conquer the world just by wearing the clothes of a world conqueror. Like, that's not how it's done. And I know, like, most of these VTubers, they're not trying to do that or say that. They're not trying to be that. But it happens passively. They do it without that being the main core of who they are, but it still comes out that way. It's like a side effect to it. And the thing about side effects is you weigh the risk versus reward. And if it's not worth the risk, then you just don't do it. As you shouldn't. It's the same with same with anything. Like, everything has a risk. You take a risk every day when you go in your car. You take a risk anytime you walk on the sidewalk. You take a risk anytime you go out on a date. You just flip legs. You take a risk doing any of those things. The thing is, we can't normalize that, because it already is normalized. There's no point in there's no point imagining yourself as someone that can handle every risk in the world. You're just hoping that you can handle the risks of today. And not everyone does. That's scary. To put that aside, though, like, there's never going to be a perfect world, and that's a tough pill to swallow, because a perfect world, at least from my perspective, doesn't have pain in it. And the lack of pain is exactly what all these VTubers have in common. They're just displaying only positive traits like being energetic or happy or some people, they're more clever about it. They act like bratty or playful or silly or goofy. Those are all awesome qualities. And but to believe that you can have all that without occasionally being irritable, without occasionally being short-tempered, without occasionally wanting to be alone, that's childish. There's always a price you have to pay. Whenever you take a good trade, there's always a bad trade to balance it out. And that's not a good thing. Nobody likes having a bad trade. Like not like me with my weight loss videos. I don't like having this weight. Why do you think I'm trying to lose it? And that's just it. I'm trying to change a negative trait. I'm trying to change it into a positive one. But none of these VTubers are doing that because they don't have any negative traits to change. And like, it's not even a refusal of adopting the negative trait. It's the acknowledgement or the belief that they don't have any to begin with, which is all just a big lie because everyone is different and everyone has something bad about them that they don't like. There's never one perfect person, but when you adorn the mask of a VTuber, suddenly it's possible. If you have the face of a VTuber, you have the model and all that good stuff, then it becomes possible. It becomes possible to have perfection without anything else slowing you down. And that's an unhealthy message, like I've said a couple times. Let me get some water, actually. Oh, that's good. Anyway, where was I? Right, it's not a good message. And it'll never be a good message because that's not feasible. It's not obtainable. And anything unobtainable you should just give up on. There's a sense of maturity in knowing when to pull back, when to sound the retreat, when to follow someone else. There's maturity in that because you're acknowledging the position that you're in and you're deducing that there's a better course of action at the loss of what you're doing. The loss being the loss being what was I going on about? Right. The loss being that it depends on the situation. Like, say you wanted to be Mr. Perfect. You go on your date and everything, and you get the flowers and the chocolates. Why am I thinking of Valentine's Day? I haven't had chocolate in so long. It's actually driving me insane. And then they go on the date, they try their hardest not to be them because they're worried the quirkier sides of them, the the bratty or the negative, the the irritable sides of them will come out and ruin everything. And again, that's very toxic. That's a very toxic way to be, and that's why everyone says just be yourself. There's a filter that comes with being yourself. I can move that with my legs. Uh, there's a filter that comes with being yourself, and it's knowing who your real friends are. I don't. Yeah, I prefer the light on me though. Yeah, there's a filter that comes with being yourself, and it determines who's actually real, like you. Real in that you not only acknowledge your own faults, but you acknowledge that everyone has their faults too. And you don't mind that. You find a way to make it work because you're mature enough to handle the backlash of it not working. Let me adjust myself. Just stringing stuff along as it comes. You know that as a person, as a whole, you're never going to be Mr. Perfect. You can try to be him, but for every good quality, there's a bad one coming just around the corner, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Nothing at all. And that sucks. It's a very bitter pill to swallow, and people don't like it when you tell them that truth. They might, leave you if you tell them that truth. But the truth needs to be said, and the truth will set you free. So good luck telling the truth to a Vtuber, because in their mind, they're doing nothing wrong. Because everyone else is doing it, peer pressure. How can it be wrong if everyone else is doing it? That's how that kind of ideology starts. Yeah, not a flattering position. That's how it starts, though. Them them not wanting to accept that who they are is not very entertaining, is not very energetic, is not very playful, and instead trying to reap the rewards that come with having all those traits while not actually having them. I don't know about you, but I think if you were to look up the definition of scam, you'd get something along those lines. You're coming for something that doesn't actually exist in the person giving it to you. And that's like a real travesty, because then it downplays everyone who is real, who is entertaining, who wants to make a name for themselves based on their own attributes, not the attributes that they make up, not the attributes that they perceive they have, and certainly not the attributes that everyone believes they have. If you want to be, better off, you improve yourself as a person. You don't start acting. Oh, you don't start acting like a better person. You be a better person. But then you ask, what's a better person? Uh, and for that, I would say, well, what are you? You're just yourself. And at the end of the day, that's all you have. yourself. I think this is the first time I've said at the end of the day, I'm doing great. And yeah, but the thing is, yourself isn't just a concrete slab, it's something that you can change and alter. If you want to be something different, you just pour yourself into a different mold, like wax. That's all it takes. And then you ask yourself, is that really you then? I guess it's not. Uh, the only real way you can see change in yourself is if you work towards it. But work is hard. And I know because I've been working out well on my diet, and yeah, it sucks. But I can feel my body saying thank you when I do. It's that kind of small, small motivation. If you don't have motivation, you're not going to do anything. Pretty sure for a VTuber, though, their motivation is money. Motivation isn't to better society. Their motivation isn't to make their peers and people that watch them better people. Their motivation is to bleed everything from them as much as they can. There's no such thing as an honest criminal. Does that work here? I guess they're technically not doing anything wrong, but they have been called professional beggars for a reason. And that reason really shows. But people don't know, you know? Like, if you took a VTuber and you had them admit, hey, I'm not actually this character, I'm a very boring, bland, mediocre individual, I promise you not as many people would watch them. Some might, some funny people might watch them, but not nearly as much as what they're pulling in now. Um, and this is because reality sucks. But you know what sucks more than reality? Needing to change for reality. But again, reality is all that we have. Reality is all that we'll know. So we might as well make the most out of it. Which is the exact opposite message that they're saying, that they're talking about, that they're perpetuating. And that's what I have the problem with. The problem with is that they're effectively abusing their audiences and no one cares. Everyone's content with it. Like, it's dystopian when someone can just get away with abusing someone and everyone cheers it on. They're happy for it, if anything. If you take someone like that and put them in a different circumstance, say being abused mentally, you know, like with name calling or something, I don't know, then everyone would criticize that because it's bad. It should be seen as bad. It will always be bad universally. So why aren't people doing that to VTubers as they abuse their audiences? They take money from them, they lie to them about the world and give them a give them a small taste effectively of what it's like to be perfect. Like a little carrot on a stick in front of a pig. That's what they're doing. It's cruel and it's disgusting too. I don't like seeing it whenever like VTubers get brought up. I just shake my head honestly. Sure, I could display hatred and anger towards them, but it's not going to change anything. And I'm better than that. I know that no matter what I do, they're just going to keep persisting. So the best thing I can do is bring awareness to who they really are. Just a bunch of crooks, scam artists, and beggars. Although the crook part doesn't make as much sense. The scam artist and beggars thing, though, yeah, that makes sense. I for one, absolutely agree that they are nothing but beggars and scam artists. And that doesn't have to be the end for them. You don't have to go and criticize all of them, make fun of them. It is fun, but it's not going to change anything. No, they need more than that. They need help. They need help being content with who they are because they're not. Who they are will never be good enough now because of the VTuber that they have created for themselves, the VTuber avatar. Because that avatar exists, that that object, I could say, because it's not a real person, that object of perfection to a zenith of perfection, that person will never obtain that level of perfection anymore because they have raised the bar so high it's clipping into Andromeda right now. That's how far away it is, how far away the goal is, because perfection isn't just something you can pick up in a bowl of cereal. It's something that's constantly changing, and it's hard to maintain that. But you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. I got that from It Takes Two. But it works here. Let me do some. How it works here. All these Disney movies and stuff, all the media, all this telling you yourself, be you. Be the individual you always knew you could be. Not this image, this idea of what you think perfection is. Because perfection could be obtained by anyone. Only those willing to obtain it will obtain it. And a VTuber can't obtain it anymore. Because why change yourself, Change is difficult. Why work out once every week when you can just eat 5 times a day? Why go to college or university when you could just watch YouTube videos all day? To be fair, you can learn a lot of interesting stuff on YouTube, though, if you're willing to learn. Let me think of another example. This is good. This is gold. Oh, why settle on one person, relationship wise? Why have a monogamous relationship when you could have multiple? There's less risk involved with all these things. Less risk of you getting hurt mentally and physically. And that's why they don't change. Thing is, nothing in life was ever meant to be easy. From the moment we touch the ground, gravity is constantly pushing us down. From the moment we learn to breathe, we acknowledge that we have to breathe every 10 seconds or so. From the moment our heart starts beating, it'll beat 100,000 times a day on average. So, we've all instinctively have had it hard. Our bodies, at least. I don't know about people born in space. Well, that's a different topic. Uh, You would think that people would just catch on. They would catch on to needing to change eventually when they learn they go to the mirror and they aren't happy with themselves. I'm not happy, Bob. When they do that, then they're basically admitting that they're not content with who they are. They're not content with the person that they've become through years of trial, years of tribulations that have definitively made that person him or her. Like, after you get to that point and you're no or a bird, after you get to that point and you're no longer satisfied with who you are, it's time for some changes. It isn't time to just give up. Because who gives up, in the movies? Who gives up in storytelling? You want to talk about a wall, an unobtainable height that can't be feasibly grasped. Not giving up is that wall for some people because giving up is so much easier. I see it all the time because me, I don't really look as big as I used to, thankfully. But I watch a few obese YouTubers. I don't like adamantly watch them, but I do acknowledge them. I do see some of their videos, and I will say, like the benefit of watching them is just the fact that you can learn from them. You don't have to be like them, and that is kind of a sad way to be, because it's like you're putting up all these people on the chopping block, and you're just going ham on them, which is again dystopian. But they're going to do it anyway. Uh, Relating back to what I was saying a bit ago, when you come on YouTube, you're signing up to be judged, and when you're a VTuber, you can't really be judged because there's never any imperfections associated with them. So there's never a place for judgment. There's never a place for criticism. There's never a place to grow from. Why do I keep looking at the microphone? And you look here. And yeah, people just love, not people, VTubers love acting like there will never be anything wrong with them because they are perfect. But it's not them that's perfect. It's the character. It's trapped them now. It is who they are now. Like that's another dilemma. I've been here criticizing, VTubers this whole time, but if we were to peel back the onion that is their characters that they create, we find a trapped individual because that person, the only reason why they're relevant, the only reason why they're making money is because they're not themselves. And that's scary. Imagine like having to go to work every day, right? And you can't be yourself about it. I don't mean like on the phone and stuff with clients or customers, or like at the cash register, or when customers asking you for your help. I don't mean in those moments. I mean all the time. Like even when you're in the bathroom, even when you're in the break room, even when you're talking to coworkers, you have to be someone else. That it's like being trapped in your own body. It's like sleep paralysis. Seeing everything around you, but not being able to do anything about it. The hell is that? I think part of my table just chipped. But not being able to do anything about it, because if you do, let's move that a little more. If you do, then the relevancy for who you are based on that character ends. And if they end, your career ends. It's sick. It really is sick when you like peel back all the layers, all the horse manure, and you see that. Like, what are they to do when they stop being them? They go back to obscurity. They try to lead a normal life, having touched upon fame and glory and riches, and now they have to settle for less. The hell is that? No, I will not be doing that. Um, yeah, no, when they stop being a VTuber, do they like try to grasp who they were and try to incorporate that into who they are now? Do they become interesting like that, or is it all just a massive facade where to the point where they they no longer know what they are, and all they can do is scream because they don't remember who they used to be? Either of these scenarios is really or are really horrific. Is R proper there? Either of these scenarios are. Either of these scenarios. It's either of those scenarios are. Either of those scenarios are equally horrific. Yeah. Um, what was it saying? Got lost in thought there. R and is for singular. Oh no, is for singular, R is for plural. Anyway. Yeah, no, that's scary. Basically you have okay, so VTubers, when they start off small. And they're just doing it for a hobby, They're doing it because it's fun. It's interesting to because Halloween does exist, and I will admit dressing up as something you're not. Don't take that the wrong way. It's fun. It's fun to do now and then. That's why they have costume parties, and why again Halloween exists. Even Christmas, people dress up as Santa Claus, or Easter, people dress up as the Easter Bunny, or Chinese New Year, they dress up as a dragon. Dressing up is fun. But to make that your life, where every day you have to dress up in that costume and act a certain way, and I don't mean like mascots and stuff, because they're just paid to dance and goof around. I can't imagine that being really horrific. But when you're forced to talk, as VTubers are, while that happens, it's like it's like throwing quarters at a monkey or something. I don't know what a monkey would do with any quarters, but it's somewhat similar to that. Where was I going with this? Okay. Going back now. Okay, VTubers. Yes. VTubers. Right, the dancing thing. When they're made to do that, and they aren't allowed to take off the costume, sure, they take it off when they're done with their stream. But again, when they first start, it's not a big deal. They're doing it for a hobby. It doesn't matter that much. I don't mind the small time ones doing it because it's fun for them. Same with like VR chat or something. It's fun. Just don't do it chronically. Of course, the same could be said for any hobby. Not to do it chronically, especially skateboarding. I don't want to talk about that though. What am I doing? Uh, I just keep laughing at the stupidest moronicies. Moronicy. Anyway, the fact that they have to do that and not be allowed to take off. Okay, the small time ones, they can take it off whenever they feel like it because it doesn't affect them. Their life no longer revolves or doesn't yet around VTubing. It's when they get big that it starts to be a problem because now that is very much a big part of their life. They either do it or they're no longer relevant. They no longer make money, and it's like not showing up to work. It's the same thing. But there they are still doing it, and they do it even if they don't want to do it. They still have to do it. At least you could argue that they could just take a sick day or something, but honestly, if you ask me, people don't need sick days, they need sick weeks to recover and recuperate. Like 1 or 2 days is hardly enough. There have been plenty of studies around this, but people don't push for it. And there should be way more days off um, regarding what you do, especially now with all these distractions that we have. And I'm no objection. The lighting changed. I'm no objection. Is that it? I'm no objection to that. Yeah, I think so. I'm no objection to that rule. I do like my distractions. I like my video games and my YouTube, as you can see. And before it was eating. I really liked eating. And, I still like eating, but I will admit, see, like I was trying to finish a bunch of chicken earlier, frozen chicken. And I've had that for like, since I started this on YouTube, like more than 3 months. Voice crack more than 3 months ago. And yeah, it's not good. It's still edible. So that's why I'm eating it. But, with chicken, you can have a whole pound of it, and that's about 440 calories. That's nothing. Whereas a pound of meat, which is like 680 calories, 640 calories. I eat 93.7 meat, beef myself, grass fed. Hey, where was it going? Right. And with that, you know, oh, right. About, forgot the point again. Just keep happening. Getting so distracted from like the wind blowing a little bit outside and the birds. Anyway, Where was I at? Just give me a sec. Oh, I was talking about my hobbies, right? And then VTuber hobbies. And yeah, but imagine if my whole life was now playing video games or watching YouTube or eating. I would feel more like a slave than an individual at that point. And I think that's like the core of this whole live or podcast, whichever way it gets watched, because there not a single person joined it. Well, I guess that's to be expected. My first one. And yeah, they're treating it like a job, which is slavery, but slavery that gets paid. Um, it's worse around the world. Anyway, that's a different topic. What I was going to say though about the VTubing and it being like slavery is that at least with a job, you get to go home. You don't have to think about your job anymore. You just get money and you do your little thing and you're done. If you so much as sneeze on your VTuber job, which usually involves a lot of social media, you are constantly walking on eggshells over the fact that you might get stripped, stripped, squashed. You might basically lose everything that you've worked for based on saying something that isn't in line with who your character is. And yeah, you could argue that you have a chance to get fired anytime you step out of line at work. The thing is, though, usually you have to do something drastic more than just saying something, anything, unless it's blatantly hurtful, which people don't do that often, from what I've seen, especially, if you're in person with another person. But VTubers, it's any single word, which I know sounds chronic, but if you watch them, you'll see. You'll see like just how long they go on a tangent about something so incredibly irrelevant and stupid because they can't talk about any real issues. They can't be real at all. But I guess that's the whole point of them, to be in fantasy, to never branch out and change and evolve and become someone better than who they are. Than who they were prior. There's no groundwork for it. You need a foundation for that kind of stuff. And most of these people don't have it. I don't think they'll ever get the foundation at the rate that they're going. I will say this is burning me out. I'm almost at an hour. Isn't that cool? Um, and I'm about had it with the VTuber subject too, which is coincidental. I mean, I think all of these live slash podcasts should be about an hour anyway. Just because I know I wouldn't watch a video longer than an hour, to be honest. Uh, Unless it's a movie. But at that point, you know what you're getting into. And so, yeah, if I were to end this on a note, I would say that, or just to sum it up, don't watch VTubers. What they're perpetuating is it's dystopian, unrealistic, and very depressing when you look past the VTuber guys. Then yeah, I'll think of something to cook up next week for a topic. Till then, keep it keep it green or something. And I'll see you maybe next week, unless I chicken out. I'll see. But yeah, bye for now. Like and subscribe, and farewell.